All right, it is a 9 o'clock hour. Every Thursday, we're going to invite Edward Hong, who is a personal development expert, talking about life and power of mind and everything else. And here is Edward Hong. Okay, welcome to the show, Edward.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, we're good friends, and we usually kind of a get together talking about a lot of different things, but I kind of found out later, way later after I met you, and one of your jobs, you're one of the busiest guy in town, you're a personal develop expert. What is that?
Well, the personal development is, I want to say, is about improving your life and enhance your quality of your life and have what you want to have in your life that you even desire.
Okay. Well, but that's very broad and
sure.
very generic. Could you explain me a little bit more about the job?
Well, the personal development literally means developing yourself. And it's a process of self-improvement to assess like personal skills and tools that would strengthen your mindset to enhance your life and to manifest desired goals and dreams that you wanted to have. And it's kind of lead way of stepping up, getting out of your comfort zone and taking to the next level and maximizing your potentials to achieve whatever you desire in life.
Okay, still very broad.
Thank you.
So people are already falling asleep, and then we have to kind of turn into BTS songs, you know?
Okay.
So from the normal person perspective, I heard in general market, people actually pay a lot of money for these kind of a training and seminar about these categories. Is that true?
That is very true, yes.
Yeah, and then there's really not many personal development experts who are Asians, and then you are one of them.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, what is your experience? And then why Asian market really doesn't kind of recognize that these kind of industry yet?
Well, actually, believe it or not, I've been in the industry of personal development since 1992. And that's the first time I walked into the training courses and learned how to develop myself. Due to the business that I was in, you always like to grow yourself, always like to lead as a business owner and entrepreneur. So that's how I started myself. And the years come along, and now recently, I walked into the training rooms, I see a lot of actually Asians are participating in these classes. Because the life gets complicated, and there's so many things are thrown into you, and also different cultures and different level and different ages of the population. It's hard to cope with the issues that are coming up in the world, just learning things that from the schools or institutes. So this is more so like building yourself strongly and spiritually also, and also more emotionally and psychologically, and also I like to say physically, to get yourself fit to cope with the life, so you could be strong enough to gather and being successful.
So it sounds like it's about the mindset, right?
Yes, it is a mindset plus the physiology, because physiology is not there. It's hard to sustain mindsets strongly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about your client a little bit. What kind of people who come to these kind of a training program?
Many different, and even age-wise. I mean, we see older teenagers up to, I see 75-year-old adults come in.
So it is pretty much for everybody.
For everybody, yes.
Okay.
I like to say.
And what kind of a background they usually have? Why they look for a personal development expert, and when?
Well, because in my opinion, that everybody needs coaches. Yeah.
Life coaches.
Life coaches, trainers, because we need someone who will see the life in a different version of it, that what you don't see. And that's always helpful to help you to step up to the next level and keep you strong and keep you motivated and keep you powerful enough to overcome objections and undesirable results that you come up in your life.
So, it sounds like somewhat I found some similarities between personal development expert and maybe psychiatrist. People come to see you when they're a little weary, when they're a little depressed.
Personal therapist is licensed, either psychologist or psychiatrist or some specialist in a mental illness to help the client or patient from preventing them from harming themselves.
Okay.
So that's like therapy sessions. It's like a PhD and licensed therapist that would come in and help you to cope with your major or minor illnesses. Versus personal developer like myself, we are certified coaches, and then we're trainer of inspirational seminars we put out there, and also we are mentor for the clients. And they don't just come to us because they have mental problems or issues like that. Sometimes we do have that kind of problem, that kind of clients coming in. However, our job is to help these people and show them the patterns and strategy of how they could be successful in their life.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I try to understand as much as possible because it's a new industry for me.
Okay.
New thing for me. So you are certified master NLP practitioner and certified trainer of a neuro-linguistic program, certified trainer of a hypnotherapy, and certified trainer of a EFT, and also certified trainer of a success coach. So there is a program out there, you kind of pass this course and then you get certified, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you got into this business for a while, but I'm just wondering, I'm curious now, how do you hear about this first time and how do you get into this industry?
Well, it started with my entrepreneurship, and I, as in any business owners, you like to develop your business and you like to be a leader, right? So I needed a training to be developing myself to be as a leader, to be a strong leader, and to be successful in my business. So I was searching for a program like this, and I was hungry to study this kind of materials, so I could embed it into my business to have my business turn it into a successful one. So that's how I started in the beginning. And as I come along, the personal development is an essence of your life because it will keep you strong, it'll intellectually grow you. And that's why sometimes we call it personal growth or self-growth. So I think it's an amazing thing that you get into it, and I know that a lot of people are participating in this program nowadays because everybody's searching for more information, everybody's searching for more and powerful way to cope with the life and also find a way to being successful. And personal development is not just based on psychological issues or psychological knowledge. Actually, a lot of these are the informations are coming from the people who was already being successful. So NLP itself is the same example. NLP is generally you learn how the mind works, and so we abstract the idea of and a strategy and pattern of how the successful people turn out to be so successful, and then we turn that into a strategy and pattern, and we teach it to ourselves to be exactly like them, to be successful as they are. So that's what I like to say about personal development. It's just showing you the way, the pattern, the strategy that was already developed by the existing or the famous successful people or entrepreneurs. And then we carry that on and we make that strategy and we figure out the strategy and patterns, and we actually serve our clients and the students who's coming into our trainings.
So it's already there, the road or some sort, and you just try to kind of guide them to help them find it better.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
In a
now
way.
I start to understand.
Yeah. So, thank you. Yeah. So it's the imagine yourself knowing, really masterfully understand how our mind works.
All right. So, well, I mean, we're just roughly, talking about this personal development stuff. We're here with Edward Hong, a certified master and trainer in NLP practitioner and a neuro-linguistic programming industry. So it's a little new industry, but we would like to talk about it. So we'll kind of share this new information, and then more people know about it. And then we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. This is We Korea. I'm your ginseng baby, Kelly Che. I'm here with Edward Hong, personal development expert. So, you like the word expert, correct?
I do.
There's like a 3-second pause there. So you grew up here. So when did you come to United States?
I came to United States in 1974, and
Wow, that's a while ago.
yes,
Okay, so you're pretty much American, and then you grew up here.
I grew up here. Yes.
Yeah, now you're just kind of touching the new industry for most of Asians and mostly Koreans, personal development field.
Yes.
So this is how I learned about it, because I went to one of your training program, and you're very motivated. You encourage people, and people just really stare at you and really listen to you and pay attention to you. And then at the end of a program, we all kind of doing it together, say it together, let's do this, we can do this. Those kind of a very positive mind that was very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Could you share some of a very positive experience for your clients?
Oh boy, there are a lot of them.
Pick one, please.
Well, sometimes I run into the clients who does really have problems, like a bit of a sort of, like, I hate to say it, but it's a mental illness they consider themselves as a mental illness they've been coping with. And time to time, we get to handle those kind of matters in the middle of the training courses. And, I like to pick out one thing about our training is that we emphasize a lot about language.
Uh-huh.
Not just the language of what we're saying to each other, but a language of what we're telling ourselves inside.
Okay.
And in this incident, that the lady, I'm not going to say her name, but she had a bit of a bipolar issues. So in the middle of the training, because sometimes the training gets to be pretty extensively intense. Because what we do is sometimes we tap into your past events that create a certain kind of emotions that prevent you to carry a more normal life. So sometimes that come up and they create that emotions they used to get when certain kind of events happen. Then they have a reaction to the situations. So this, long story short, she was having panic attack.
Okay.
But realizing that going through the trainings, that I realized that she's very religious.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to pull her aside, and she was so sure that she's gonna faint and she's gonna react to the certain emotions and a physiology that she's always carrying on, and then always reacts to her emotions. So I had to pull her aside, and I have to give her instruction that will embed it into her mind, that she could create some kind of pictures or some kind of a realities inside there into her mind to ease her down. And knowing that she was very religious, I talked in God's voice. It's kind of funny, but sometimes we have to be flexible.
Yeah, you just try to find the best way possible for individuals, right?
True, and our reality is the reality that we perceive from outer world, and then we create it inside our mind, and that's our reality. That's why all the reality is different than each person, because we go through different experiences, there's different paths to create our own realities. So sometimes I tap into their reality if I have that information of how they've been, what they've been like and how they've been living their life, and I utilize it to help them out. And in this case, it was a religious, so she was very religious. So I tapped into God's voice, and then I told her that I'm with you, and you're not who you think you are, and you are the part of the universe, and you are within my hand, and now you could relax, you could have a peace, and there's always a space that you could come and relax and have a peace, and so you don't have to worry about anything in life and having this kind of reactions. So she came through. Almost we were going to call 911. Her husband was panicking also.
She said, that emergency, huh?
Yeah, but she pulled through and she came back to the training. And the funny story is that her husband came to me later on and said, let me know how you did it, because I need that at home sometimes. So.
You need a God's voice, right?
You need a God's voice.
Yeah. But I mean, it's amazing that because every individual is a little bit different, and then you could find some best way, case by case, right?
True.
But how do you find it? I guess that's your job secret.
Yeah, it's we called. There's no certain name to it, but as we cope or we react to each other, and we in the training room, we get certain kind of information, or we get certain kind of physiologies that we get from the clients, and who they are and what they are familiar with. And then so what we do is we tap into that, and then we actually tapping into their model of the world, I should say, and then we talk in their language.
So usually these kind of a program, it's different than physical therapist. Usually physical therapist is a regular visit, right?
True.
But your type of a training program is a certain period of time, like a week or 2 days or something like that. So it's kind of a one-time thing. How do they find the best solution with such a short period of time?
Well, it's a continual training program. You started with a 1 day, and then you moved on to 3 days, and then you move on to 7 days, and sometimes you move on to 15-day trainings.
So usually the client is kind of a repetitive?
True.
Returning clients.
Yeah, returning clients, and also it's a step-up training. So we started with a 1 day kind of introductory, and then 3 day of a basic, and then second training to be like a little bit more advanced, and then the highest one is more so like a practice to be like a trainer. So you get to master all the tools and insights that you learn from the previous trainings, and then helping others and help yourself too.
So kind of going back to the original question, it's new for Asian market, and I know there's a more and more Asian client now, but you're talking about Asian language speaking client, or Asians but more kind of more comfortable English speaking client?
Almost all my Asian clients are we do it in speaking English.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're English speaking.
Yeah, and this training that we were doing, and they're not actually very new. They've been around for many years. It's just that sometimes they don't call it the same name. So NLP is also one of the example. NLP has been already adapted by the famous Tony Robbins, and all the training that he created actually based on from neuro-linguistic programming. So whoever has been gone to Tony Robinson's training, you guys are already adapted into that neuro-linguistic programming within you. So yeah, Tony never calls it neuro-linguistic. I mean, he did call neuro-linguistic programming, or sometimes he called it neuro-associated programming. However, it's the same concept, but because it's a very powerful concept, and he does do a really successful job.
So you think this training program is going to work for Asian immigrants family?
I think it will, yes. This is not about the cultures. This is not about different professions. This is about how the brain works, how your mind works.
Right,
and
right.
in that realm, we're all equal. Because we do come from different paths and different history of life, but that's not why we act differently only. There's a certain system in your mind that filters to have your own reality in your head. And that system, that I want to say mind technology, is all built into same in our mind, on our brain.
So, what's your key to success for your mindset wise?
My key to success is sell yourself to yourself. That you are confident and you're powerful, and there's no other person in the world who's like you, and you are the person. There's something that you do in life or surrounded you or in the global basis. It's something you do best. No one can do better than you. So you are worthy, and I want you to take that on and just go out there and work to have whatever you want and whatever you desire for your life.
Well, you're talking very kind of a mellow right now, but I mean, I've seen you in the training program, and you're very charismatic. You're kind of on the chair, and you're a different person. It's like so during training program, it seems like a more your alter ego. It's kind of working a little bit different than now, right?
Yeah, there's yeah. You see me on a motivation stage, and we do coaching and we do a lot of training that way. But however, sometimes the part of the training that we have is that we like to tap into our unconscious mind, and sometimes the unconscious mind, it listens better when you do certain kind of tonalities or certain kind of physiology, the changes that you do.
Yeah.
So sometimes I go fluctuate.
Human brain and human mind is an amazing thing.
It is an
You could do
amazing thing.
anything.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, see it this way: how would the world look to the little mouse, and how would the world look like to the human being?
Yep, seems like I've been on your training program. So we're here with Edward Hong, personal development experts, and then you're listening to We Korea. I'm your host, Ginseng Baby, Kelly Che. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. This is We Korea. We talk about all K-cultures, K-pop, K-food, and everything beyond. This is your host, Ginseng Baby, Kelly Che. I'm here with Edward Hong, also Korean, who is personal development expert. Okay, so Edward.
Yes.
Now we want to talk about what's happening in Korea recently. A lot of Korean celebrities in trouble for different issues. I know you trained American Idol finalist.
Yes.
Right? So I heard a lot of American entertainment company hire you as a trainer for celebrities. Why do they need these kind of a training?
Well, these trainers, these actors and actresses and singers, they are invested by talent companies. They're realizing that they are finding these talents, and then they grow them into the big stars. And what's missing in the course of it is that this successful, the entertainers, they sometimes end up in like a mood wreck. They got to cope with like a sudden popularity and social criticism and like a sudden change of their lifestyles.
Right.
So sometimes they just easily throw themselves into like a emotional wreck. And in the long term, sometimes it gets to be easily develop into major illnesses, mental illnesses, and sometimes they can cause harm on their careers or health, and even death in certain cases. I mean, lately we show some cases like late Robin Williams. You know, he that sad thing happened. You know, devastating things happen. So, you know, so what they do is they invest a lot of money into these entertainers. They lose, you know, their investments. To say that they need to protect their investments, and so
That's
they
true.
hire life coaches and trainers to help them to sustain their mental health and have their mindset to be strong and confident to cope with all these changes they're going through in their life.
Yeah, to be successful, I totally agree with you. You know, mental health is as important as physical health. So I understand a lot of American entertainment company hire you as part of their program. I don't know how many Korean entertainment companies doing the same thing, but some of them, they really kind of end up in jail or some kind of a problem, or some of them very extreme conclusion. So a lot of celebrities, why do they get into these kind of problems?
Well, now that's a good question. And that leads into this question, as all human being, why do we do what we do? I mean, again, we're going back to how our mind works, right? But also there's a certain things in human life, there's certain things that we need to carry on healthy life and healthy mindset, right? So let me introduce you to like certain needs that the human needs, the basic human needs, and there are 6 of them, regardless of who you are or regardless of what your profession is. These are all same basic human needs that drive us and shape us, all the emotions and actions that results. So those are certainties, uncertainties, significance, love and connection, and growth and contribution. And those are the 6 human needs, basic needs. And the certainties, like, let me explain to you what they are. Certainty means people seek certainty to have a stability and a control in your life. And that's one of the parts that we need in our life. Uncertainties, people need variety of changes for excitement and entertainment to exercise their body and emotion to prevent from being bored. We don't like to be bored.
That's me. I need excitement.
Yeah, we all
I don't
need
want
an
to get
excitement. Yeah, we
bored.
want to be surprised sometimes, right? That gives us a great pleasure.
Right.
And the third thing is a significance. And it I think it relates to a lot on Korean society because we like to be respected. You know?
Right.
Yeah. So significant means everybody needs to feel important and special and recognized.
Right.
Yeah,
that's very important.
Yeah, that is very important. And next one is love and connection. Now, people need to feel connected to one another, connected to someone or something to interact with, because we are social animals. And next thing is a growth. And people need to grow mentally and spiritually continuously, or they will die. Right? And the contribution, people can survive without others contributing to in some way. You know, for instance, like baby cannot grow on its own, right? So we all need to relate to each other and connect to each other. So among these 6 basic human needs, first 4, certainty, uncertainty, significance, love, and connections, are actually like conscious prime needs. These are the things that we always think about, that we want this, we need this, and we always like drive for it. And the last 2, growth and contribution, is actually unconscious or spiritual needs. So these are things that we think about after we fulfill, or not after, but more so in unconscious ways. So, however, sometimes some people or some situations that we do whatever it takes to fulfill one or more of these human needs in a positive ways, or unfortunately sometimes in a negative ways. So regardless of harming sometimes for themselves or harming others to attain that feeling of pleasure or fulfillment, or sometimes to avoid the pains that comes from that, not having that, right? So I think another unfortunate thing is that in this society there are recreational substance of drugs that are unlawfully available. And those are taking parts to gain the instant gratification of fulfilling our human needs.
I have a sudden death question. Why people addicted to something? What's the relation between human and addiction? We see so many around.
Well, simply because everybody likes the gratification.
Uh-huh.
And that's the current generations and new generations, they like more instant gratification too. So, but our human being is built that way. Okay. Unconsciously, we are programmed to continuously want more, and we seek more.
Well,
and
that's
more.
easy to say, but I mean, like a certain, choice for human beings. If they chose certain things, not so good things, as an addiction, they're having hard time in their whole life.
Well,
right?
Addiction is a chemical addiction sometimes, but also if you seek something more and more that you like, you tend to just go more, and sometimes it gets to be uncontrollable, and then it turns and lead into immoral behavior sometimes.
Right, like a gambling problem.
Yeah. So healthy mind doesn't have a boundary of your moral being, knowing that simply saying that I don't do that, I can't do that because that's not moral. That's not immoral. So we have a boundaries, but when it gets to the far apart from that boundary, then you're confused and you're overwhelmed, and all you seek for is pleasure or to avoid pain. So based on that, sometimes you make a and once you are in the effect of the drug, sometimes you make a really wrong and bad choices. Right. So I think in the case of that, based on the human basic needs, whatever happened in Korea, I know it's really sad when I heard the news.
So many of them
happened. Yeah,
sudden,
the time when we left Korea, I thought drug was like something that we can't even imagine, and now it's affecting in our homeland too. So I think the matter has gone too far. Right. And it just turned into an uncontrollable event. Okay. So, yeah.
Well, let's change the subject a little bit. So that's about the problem in Korea. And the reason why I brought it up, because we play a lot of K-pop songs, and then they are the K-pop celebrities. So sometimes we listen to those songs and then, hear their voices and stuff like that. So somewhat we're related to it. But they're successful people. Doesn't matter how old they are, how young they are. I always curious about what's up with the successful people. How can I succeed, So do you have anything you want to share about secret of a successful people, I would say?
Actually there are many. But one of my favorite that actually I utilize in my own business that helped my business to be very successful, my terms. So there is something called 5 habits of successful people. And the 5 of them is number 1, this is know your outcome. Okay. Yeah. You have to be clear and very clarify yourself what you really want. And that's goals that you set has to be very, very clear. And then you cannot ask for what you don't want either. Because if you say, I don't want to work for this company anymore, and that's not a real goal. You want to set yourself into the clarifying goal of what you really want. And you said, I want to be vice president of this company. I want to be a president of this company end of this year, things like that. So that could be a good example for that. And after you clarify with your goal vividly, then you take an action. Okay. Yeah. And then take an action, but you take a massive action.
That's a number 2?
That's number 2.
Okay.
That's number 2. And without action,
nothing's going to
happen. Yeah. Third thing is pay attention to sensory acuity. I mean, this sounds a little bit kind of not very self-explanable, but that means that after you take a massive action, be mindful of where your action took you to, what result it created to. And then you analyze, am I on the right track or am I not on the right track? So from that point, the fourth one is have a behavioral flexibility.
Uh-huh.
What that means is that always be ready to be flexible on taking the next action. Now that next action should go towards your clarified goal.
Mm-hmm.
So be always ready. There's a universal law that it says a law of requisite variety.
Mm-hmm.
And the meaning of that is the system or person who has the most behavioral flexibility wins the system or controls the system.
Mm-hmm.
So be flexible all the time. And the last one, the fifth one, is always operate on psychology and physiology of being excellence. So that's where it comes into all the successful people. They're always training themselves and searching for knowledges, searching for training like my training or other trainings that will build your mind strong and powerful and keep yourself psychologically powerful and also keep yourself physically fit to keep up with an energy and give you positive emotions. The one of the ways that how our mind works is that emotions enforce our actions.
Uh-huh.
So emotion make us take an action. And the emotion is affected by the thought that you have in your mind and physiology that you have. So even if you have a positive thought, if you do not or cannot sustain that thought with an energy and an effort, then you can not produce positive results and behaviors that will create, the results, desired results.
Yeah, very important thing. It's like a 5 habits of a successful people. It's not only for certain people, it's for all of us. It's for everybody. So we have to keep it in mind. I'm here with Edward Hong, a personal development expert. You're listening to We Korea. We'll be I'm your host, a ginseng baby, Kelly Che. I'm here with LA firefighter, Mr. December, Edward Hong. I'm just kidding. But you are very fit. You're, how many times you work out a week?
3.
3 times?
3.
That's a lot. So that's why you're always fit. You're not skinny, you're fit.
I try to keep myself that way, yes.
Yes. That's why you look like a firefighter, because I hate workout. So we just talked about 5 habits about successful people. On the break, we talked about this success formula. What is that?
It's a very simple formula, very easy to follow, and very easy concept, but very powerful. Very powerful. If you really keep with this formula, I'll guarantee that you'll have a successful life in your life. Let me start it with this way. We're all living in a different world, 2 different worlds. And one is the world that we always blame on someone. It's never my fault. It's always my boss's fault. It's always somebody else's fault.
Right.
That's why I don't have what I want to have.
Right.
That's the one world. And then the other world is that the world that we always take a responsibility of ourselves. So we call that world of cause. We're always at the side of cause, that we're causing something. We're responsibly causing something. We're proactively causing something. And versus the effect, we call it effect. The world of effect is that we're always living on reaction to the events. We're always on an effect. We always put ourselves in a victim state. So those 2 worlds, and the most, I want to say, all of successful people, they're living their life when they thrive and when they just, grasp that success, they're living the cause, living in the world of cause. So the one thing about being in the cause is that being a cause is not enough. When you stand on the world of cause, you have to take an action. Meaning that here's some examples that, unfortunately, the better woman, they're sometimes thinking that it's their fault. Their husbands
A lot of times.
are beating them. Yes. So they're going into victim phase and they're living in a reaction of
Right.
the matters.
I did something wrong.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So it's this. You get to stand on a cause and say, "Look, I this is not my fault. This is happening," and you have to stand on your cause and take an action to be at the cause. You can't just say, "Look, it's not my fault that he's hitting me," but you got to take an action, and you got to either, move on to different life or whatever choice that you picked on at that moment. So this cause and effect, unfortunately, a lot of us, I don't want to say a lot of us, but a lot of people, they're standing on the effect side because it is very easy and comfortable to be in effect size because you don't have to take an action, you just be in reactive situations and just live the way that it is. But being on cause and effect and versus both of them, you get to choose to be being at cause. Life is a choice. Life is a decision. It's shaped by the decisions that you're making every day and every moment. So once we train ourselves to stand on the world of cause and take on responsibility of everything that happens in my life, whatever negative, positive, or whatever, even like a car accident. If you tell you, it sounds a little bit crazy, but I practice myself that way. I got an accident. I said, you know what? Instead of saying like, why she hit me, why this happened, and instead of that, I could just tell myself, you know what? It's part of my fault that I'm here. On the way of the person who was, texting while they're driving. It makes me to be aware of what's going on in the road, and next time that I'll be aware of that.
The surroundings.
Yeah. But once you stand on a fact side, because you blame it on people, worst things that can happen. What that is that you're not learning anything. You're not pushing forward for yourself to learn so you could prevent next time or you could do better next time on certain things that you're not doing well at this moment. So the $1 million question is, when there's something that's not working for you in your life, ask this question. What's the thing that I'm costing not to have the things that I don't want, I'm not having at this moment? Or who am I not being who I wanted to be? And answer that question. What is it that am I preventing myself not to have what I want to have? What is that that's causing me that they're preventing me from what I desire to have in my life? Or financial freedom for my family or myself. What is that I'm causing? And follow that question and follow that answer and answer yourself honestly. And there's a lot of good advice in that. And human being, we have all the resources that we need in our life to prevent and also achieve the desirable results that we want. Ask the power question of yourself within yourself. You will get it. And just work with that. And or sometimes you could come to a coach like myself or come to powerful training that we are putting out there, and then you get more help and be more successful.
So keep searching for answers.
Yes. Or
that's important thing.
Read a book.
Yes.
The powerful books. Like they say, leaders are readers. There are amazing books out there. Yeah, there's amazing books out there. That's why they call it, when you go to the bookstore, it says self-help section. There are amazing books out there.
Self-help section.
Yeah.
Okay. So we just learn about some new stuff we don't really hear every day. We're here with Edward Hong. He's going to be with us weekly basis, and we're talking about different stuff. So what are we going to talk about from next week? Just give us a little peek.
Okay, I'll bring in a bit more, or, certain habits of successful people are doing, and a certain formulas and patterns that we could follow for the successful people. And also I'll bring some different cases from my students and the people that I'm coaching without putting out their identities. So if there are things that we could learn through my years of experience, we could discuss that so we could learn what we could prevent or what could proactively go after to avoid that or accomplish the desired outcomes that you would like to have.
Yeah, and then also you're a son of a Korean immigrant family, and you have a lot of people and friends and relatives around you, also kind of going through some issues when they come here. So if you don't mind, I would like to hear more about it.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome.
And you can hear Edward Hong and Kelly Che weekly here at We Korea. I'll see you next week, Edward. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.